Hello, all of my crafty friends. Welcome back. Can you believe it? It is another Thursday, and here we are ready to run with scissors for some awesome crafty times together. So I am so glad that you are all out there. I see a whole bunch of people out there watching, and I'm so glad to see you here. I see we've got our international contingent out there. Welcome from Germany. So willkommen. And hello to all of our friends in England and of course from all over the United States and anywhere else in the world that you might be, that you are joining us. I am so glad to have you here. So don't forget to pop down into the comments, say hello, tell us where you're from, maybe tell us a little bit about the weather because we're always talking about it. It is hot and sweaty here in Nebraska. We had a little bit of rain earlier today, which cooled it off just a tinge, but it is still like all moist and humid. So gross. Anyway, it's safe to say that fall and spring are my favorite seasons. Although I do, winter comes up next. Summer is really just not my favorite time of year. It's just always too hot and sweaty. Anyway, I am so glad you're here. We are in our last week of gel press printing, and now we've done all the printing we're going to do all month. But now we've got all of these leftovers, and it's like, what do I do with all of this stuff? Well, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to do a scrap buster and bust up all of these scraps and turn them into some amazing, easy cards. All right, so of course we've got some announcements. I'm going to zip through these. The one thing that I do want to point out for you, two things on this page I want to point out to you. The Card Maker Success Summit is coming up at the end of July. That is a free event, and that is hosted by Brandy Mahon over at Stamp Me Some Love. And I'm going to be a presenter for that. We're going to be doing gel press, so you're going to want to sign up for that. And like I said, it's free. So you want to go to NicoleWattCreates.com/card summit to get on the waiting list for that. Registration is going to open soon, so you're going to want to make sure you're on the list. The other thing I want to point out to you is September is going to be here before we know it, and that is our next Stamp Focus Challenge. So back a couple months ago, I think it was back in April, we did a Stamp Focus Challenge where we used a single stamp set all month, and I showed you different ways to use it. People signed up for the challenge, and they got all sorts of techniques, and we did prizes and giveaways, and we shared our projects, and people learned a whole lot, and they just really got to expand the concept of using one stamp set for a prolonged period of time to create some completely unique looks throughout the entire month. So we're going to be doing that again in September, so mark your calendars. You're going to keep hearing more and more about that. I'm so excited because Picket Fence Studios has graciously offered to sponsor us. So we are going to have a discount coupon for early bird registration. We're going to have giveaways that's going to have some sweet Picket Fence swag in it. And of course, we're going to be using Picket Fence Studios products. So I'm so excited. I just got my products today, so I'm going to be whipping up my projects so that I can get all that stuff up and running and ready for you. So those are the two really huge things that I wanted to let you know about. Now, the way that you're going to keep finding out about them, besides coming here, is to get onto my mailing list. And the easiest way to do that is to get your technique freebie. So go to NicoleWattCreates.com/technique freebie. You'll see that up on the sheet here to sign up for my mailing list and get the technique freebie. And then you will find out about both the Card Maker Success Summit when that registration opens, and you'll also find out about the Stamp Focus Challenge when that registration opens up towards the end of July. So those are the two things I really wanted to point out here. Of course, I'm always appreciative of everything you guys do to help support this channel, whether that's liking this video or subscribing to my channel and clicking on the bell for notifications, whether you choose to send me a little bit of cash through the tip jar or you use my affiliate links to shop. I appreciate you every time you do that. Even if you're just out on Instagram and you've been inspired by something you see here and you tag me at Nicole Watt Creates, I appreciate all of that. So thank you guys. All of that love that I feel from you just keeps me going here. So I appreciate that. One last announcement, the Craft Your Life retreat is coming up on July 16th. I'm going to be a live presenter for that. I have a 90-minute session using an exclusive set from Altenew. So if you are an Altenew lover and you like to go to live workshops, join me and 5 other Altenew educators on July 16th. We've got an early bird discount going on right now. Go to NicoleOutCreates.com/CYLR and use that discount code to get 15% off your registration. All right, guys, let's move on. Welcome to all of our new subscribers. So glad to have you here. If you're here today and you're a new subscriber, and give me a little hello, give me a smiley face, or just say hi, I'm a new subby. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm excited that my channel keeps growing and growing, and that's because of you. So thank you, each and every one. All right, let's take a look. Here is today's project. Well, an idea of today's project, because we will not be creating this same thing over again. We're going to go through stencils, we're going to go through scraps, and we're going to create something like this. The thing that I love about this project is that just like your gel prints, each one of these is going to be unique and fun and cool. It all depends on what kind of stencils you have and what kind of prints you have as well. Now, once we've done this technique, think about other ways you can use it. If you've got a lot of patterned paper, you could do this technique on patterned paper. If you've got other prints, other scraps in your bin that are kind of colorful or what have you, you can do this same technique. So pay attention and learn a little bit. And we're going to be using this on our prints from this month. And I think you guys are going to really love this concept. Okay, so I wanted to talk about what we're going to be using today. I did amend our supply list, which is kind of why I like just putting the link, because I can go in last minute and add a few things, and you still get the full benefit of it. You can just check the updated list. All right, so originally I was using this, the Winsor & Newton gouache. Now this is a water-based gouache. Now gouache is typically water-based. It's an opaque version of watercolors, which means that it's less see-through or not see-through. Okay, so that's what gouache is. All right, and even though it's called permanent white, you might still be able to bring it up after it's dry, right? So some other options that you might have sitting around is acrylics. Now Liquitex, their line of acrylics all work really well together, and they have lots of different versions of acrylics. So they have acrylic ink, all right, which is a super watery version of acrylic. They have soft body acrylic, which is a nice creamy consistency. They have just like a regular, their basics acrylic, and then they also have their professional heavy body acrylic, which is super heavy. And then they also have what's called acrylic gouache. Now this is a combination. It is gives you the properties of acrylic, meaning that it's going to be water resistant once it dries. And but it also gives you the matte finish that you would get with a regular gouache. So that's kind of nice. Compared to the soft body acrylic or the acrylic ink, these are going to give you more of a satin finish. So we're going to play with all 3 of these today. And the gouache, the watercolor gouache. I got that on this, we'll use it on my mat here. And I've got all of these great pieces of leftovers from all of our work from this month, right? So we've got some of these ones that are on the butcher paper or the deli paper, whatever you want to call it. All sorts of like scrap pieces and things like that. So I've got all my scraps out. All right. And I also have, I've got some smaller scraps in here. We can use these to build like collage type pieces. And then I also have like piles and piles of different sentiments. Some from my scraps bin, some from that I just kind of did up so we would have them. And the 2 that I'm like going to kind of focus on are these 2. So these ones here are foil, hot foil plates. Those are the Yana's Sentiments from Spellbinders. Right, so it comes with the foil plate and the die. And then the other ones, these guys here, I have them in 3 different colors. Comes from the Concord & 9th Painted Petals Turnabout. Now, the only way to get this turnabout is through the kit, which is why I wanted to give you guys another option. And so this little stamp right here, it's so nice because it's one stamp. You stamp out the sentiments and then you die cut them all at the same time. I super love that about this stamp set. But I also recognize that maybe you don't want to get the whole kit. So I thought I'd give you some other options. Of course, anything that you have will work for this. So totally give all sorts of options a try, because you're going to see like the world is your oyster with this project. Okay, so let me just move these out of the way. All right. Whew. I'm moving super fast today. I feel like I'm under the gun because I want to do a whole bunch of these. Okay, so let's see. Paula's going on holiday. Oh, we're going to miss you. I know she's going on some awesome cruises, so we're going to miss seeing you, but I hope to see pictures, Paula. Let's see. And then we've got all sorts of other folks joining in. Kathy, Prehistoric, Becca, Ms. Tam, Lisa. Hey, guys. So glad to see all of you. Okay, so I'm going to pull out. So this one is one that I was kind of working on. And I didn't get it down onto a piece of cardstock, but I will. I'm going to pull out some that are kind of interesting to start with. Because the process is the same, no matter what stencil you choose and no matter what background you choose. So let's start with those. And where am I going to put these? Let's put these here. Got all sorts of things like over on the side here, to make sure that I don't forget anything. Okay. This guy is super, super simple. Take a breath. Taking a breath. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you guys can really see what's going on here. Okay, so let's pick out a piece. I'm going to pick out this piece just because it's very similar to my sample card. And that's going to give you an idea of how we do this. So I'm going to start off, everybody, I love this stencil, the Leaf Burst stencil from Altenew. Now, when you go to the product listing page, what I've done is I've listed out a couple of Altenew stencils that I probably will pull out today. Maybe I won't. But then towards the bottom, I put a listing to various stencils from different companies that I really like their stencils. All right, so you've got lots of choices. Of course, like everyone has stencils, so use what you have, right? Okay, so we're going to start with the gouache. This is our water-based white gouache, and this is a watercolor. All right, so I've got my watercolor brushes over here, and I just put a little bit of gouache down. Now, watch how stinking simple this is, guys. Okay, so you've already got like all of these scraps hanging around. You went on a tear creating all sorts of gel press backgrounds, right? What are you going to do? You're going to grab a stencil and you're going to pop it right over the top. I'm not even like taping it down or anything. Who has time for that? All right, I'm just going to water down my gouache here a little bit. You see how gorgeous and creamy white that is? Love it. And I'm just going to go over my stencil. Like seriously, this simple, guys. Oh my gosh. Now, what you might find is that depending on what kind of paint you're using, if you're using like this watercolor gouache, you might need to do this a couple of times. If you're looking for more detail, if it kind of faded out, that kind of stuff. So that's why I want to explore a little bit with the acrylic gouaches to see if they cover better, right? So we're just gonna cover this up. Now the key with working with like the cream gouaches or liquid is that you don't want to really dilute it too much. You just want to make it movable, right? So you don't want to be working with a gel or a paste, really. You just want it to be workable, but you don't want it to be like faded out. All right, so see what happened there? I had a lot of water going on here, and so it kind of mushed underneath, right? This is okay. Don't worry about it. Guess what? I'm going to grab my new best friend. I love this thing. Have you guys gotten one of these yet? Oh, I don't know if I have this on the list. I will add it to the list, but you can look on last week's listing too. This little dryer is so great because I can talk over it. It's not a heat set. It's just an air fan, a handheld fan. I'm going to dry some of this up. Sometimes heat works better, right? Because it is going to help evaporate some of that water faster. right, but here's also another good thing you can do. If this has gotten a little crazy, right, you can still lift this up, especially because this is watercolor. It's water-based. It's still wet. You can lift it up a little bit, right? So we want this to dry just a hair more. Oh, yay, Kathy got the fan. It's so nice. And it holds a charge for a long time. I haven't recharged this since the first charge. Watch, it'll probably die today. Just want to get that a little dry. All right, and then I'm going to put this right back over the top. Don't need to be 100% perfect, but get close, all right? Getting close helps. We're going to take that same, and now I want to just try to get a little bit more detail on some of those areas. Because I'm layering, we're going to get, you see how you're going to get those nice layers. All right, this is so much fun. So you don't have to just use white. If you want to use different color gouaches, say you've got other than white gouache. A lot of people just have white because they use it for flicking and splatter. But if you have other colors of gouache, you can use them for this as well and come up with really different results. All right, so let's set this one aside. We're going to let this dry a little bit. I'm really interested to explore with some of these other paints. All right, so what I did is, let's clean this up. We'll come back to that. I'm just going to set these aside together. Okay, so we've got another panel here. It's a little bigger. What I like about this one is it's got a lot of dark to it. So let's do the rose bouquet stencil. All right, this time I'm going to use, I need to move my water out of the way. So when you're working with watercolors, you use watercolor brushes. When you're working with acrylics, you use the same kinds of brushes, round brushes and things like that. These are fully synthetic though, because they work better with acrylics. And I'm going to use different water just so that I don't mix them. All right, so this is Liquitex acrylic ink. I'm going to put just a little bit down on my mat here. So acrylic ink is acrylic paint just made in such a way that it is super thin. You don't have to get your brush wet to use it. You see how nice and thin that is? For this project, that's about as thin as you're going to want it. So you really don't need to water this down at all. So let's see what's happening. Is it going underneath? It is. All right. So the difference with the acrylic ink is that when it dries, it's going to dry completely waterproof. So you're not going to be able to use water to pick this up after it is down. And here's something I think that might be better for this. Okay. So another option you have if you feel like your watercolor with a brush or your acrylic ink or whatever with a brush is just too much, grab a makeup sponge and just sponge it on instead. That might give you an even better look. Because, you know, like if you're not going to take the time to stick your stencil down, like I'm not, this might be the better way of doing it. I kind of like the messiness of the brush because I do like that watery look, but this is still working that way. All right. So this will give a second to dry and we'll put a second coat on it. Yeah, so acrylic ink is a very versatile product. You can use it on your gel press. You can use it to paint with, kind of like watercolor, because it's super thin like that. You can use it for calligraphy straight out of the bottle. Lots of different ways that you can use acrylic ink. And just like the watercolor, it is going to layer. The difference is that it is going to give you more of a satin finish than a matte finish. All right, let's see what we got. That's kind of cool. All right, we'll let this one set to the side. Now to clean this off, just soap and water. It's going to be just like when you clean up your stencils and things from gel press. So you may want to spray it or get it into some Murphy's oil soap to help pull up the acrylic paint, but it will come off of your stencils with no problem. All right. This guy is mostly dry. Let's finish this one up. So I think I kind of decided I liked using the there we go. I liked using the makeup brush. So let me just finish this guy up a little bit here. I'm going to use a clean makeup brush. I just want to get a hair more detail. In the end, it really is what you want it to be. I think this will make it look better. So let's see how the makeup brush works for control. Or the makeup sponge, I should say. There. All right, so now I have a little bit more detail in there. Right? I love it. It does not have to be neat at all. If you want it to be neat, make it neat, but it doesn't have to be. All right, so that is it for the watercolor. Okay. All right, so this one we'll set aside for dry and we will make something with that. This one, we could do more with it, but I think I'm going to leave it just like this for now. Let's look at a different one. Ooh. This coppery one is calling my name. Okay, so I know a lot of people. You know what? I have one that's more blue. Let's see if I can find one. Yeah, we can do this one. They want to know creative ways to use the cloud stencil, right? So this one I used with the watercolor brushes, but let's use the sponge and some acrylic paints and see what we get. Let me find. So this is the Cloud Scene stencil by Altino. Okay, so Lisa, let me tell you, sponges, just get the makeup sponges. You don't have to get anything special from you don't have to get anything special from a craft company or whatever. Just get makeup sponges. They work. They're that nice dense foam. They work really great. Okay, so let's do the, I hope this is open because I've never used it before. Let me just double check. There might be a little top on here. Yep. That would have been fun. Why isn't anything coming out? I don't know. I just got these the other day. And I really haven't had a chance to play with them yet. So we're doing some live play with our products. Yeah, I made the mistake of walking into Dick Blick. I should not have done that. It's hard enough to control myself online, yet alone when the products are right there. I wanted them all. Okay. So, like I said, the acrylic gouache, and I'm shaking it. I don't know if I need to or not. I may have just made a mess inside the cap. Nope. So the acrylic gouache is acrylic, but it's also like the watercolor gouache in that it's going to be a matte finish. So I'm going to take that same sponge I was just using with the liquid acrylic ink. I'm just going to dip into the sponge, gouache here. Now, working with a cloud stencil. I know people get kind of confused about working with a cloud stencil. So you just kind of have to think about like what your background is. Like, so this is going to be our sky or whatever. And you work from the top down. I find that to work the best for me. And you just have to remember that everywhere you're putting white in this case is going to be cloud. So I'm using kind of these little short strokes. And you want to move your stencil around, give it some visual interest. All right. If you don't like the way that's looking, you know, maybe you want to, actually with this one, you may even want to try working from the bottom up and see if you like the way that it looks. Just play around with it. And the nice thing about this is that you can kind of do whatever you want. So with the acrylic, I can get away with working from the bottom up because it's drying really fast. But look at that. Do you see them? Do you see the clouds? Yeah. So that's where you may want to come back with a brush, and we'll do that in a minute. Okay, so let's just kind of finish this top edge off. I don't know where we're going to end up cutting this off, right? So as you can see them, the clouds are there. Don't be afraid to overlap. Put things at funky angles. And that's why I kind of like these random edgers, because they really do give you a very a random look, obviously, versus the ones that are just the little humps. All right, go ahead and overlap a little bit. All right, so there we go. A cloudy look. I think what I will probably end up doing is cutting probably this little piece right here. That looks pretty cool to me. If I want to come in with a little bit more, I can water this down just a little bit. Not much. And, you know, fill in more detail. Now, when I did this originally, on my original piece, I did do something like that. This kind of thing. If you want more of a defined line, you can definitely do that. Or if you want to see some more of those brush strokes, sometimes the brush strokes just really make it, right? When you see those little brush strokes, you're like, oh, that was painted. That looks so cool. And the way that they dry like that. Yeah, you can definitely do any of that. Just use these as little outlines to start following up against. And then just kind of blend them out into nothingness. So I think people think about the cloud edges too much. Just put it on the paper and do some edging and see what it does on the paper and go from there. Just have fun with it. And here, like, I'm just kind of like moving my brush kind of randomly, not anything solid, nothing planned, just kind of moving along these little lines here. And now you can see it start to come to life. So basically now you're seeing like those highlights where the sun is hitting it, and then where it kind of fades away, right, where the shadows are. This is fun. This will be really pretty. All right, you can use these to kind of do little mountaintops too, all sorts of different things, especially with the these kind of irregular ones. Sometimes I look at this and I think, oh, that looks more like a mountain. Hmm. All right. All right, so I've focused on this one side because this is definitely where I'm going to chop out my piece for a card. There. Pretty, right? There you go. So Lisa, she says she feels like an artistic rock right now. Hey, so that's when we just get out our stuff and we play. Like I had no idea how this was going to turn out. It certainly turned out different than this one did. Completely different looks, same stencil. Do I like one better than the other? No, not necessarily. They just both have different looks. So just get it out and play. I always say that, you know, the best idea starts with what if. And that's how I come about with these ideas. I'm like, well, what if I did this? Or what if I did that? And that's how I just come up with these ideas, right? So you never know what's going to happen. About 5 minutes ago, I would have said this is going to be a hot mess. But after I put in a little bit more detail and spent a little bit more time with it, I really like it. I think it's this beautiful, soft, wispy cloud. It's gorgeous. All right. So just play with it. It's only paper. And if you're worried about the time, it's like decompression time, right? It's a good time for you to just play without any expectation, have tons of fun with it. Okay, so this one, this gorgeous piece has got copper on it and blue. This is from another project I just pulled out. Let's find another stencil. Let's not do an all two stencil. If you want, you can do something just plain old geometric. This is one of my favorites, the mod circles. This one also would work really well. Like if you had a little bee motif, you could do a little honeycomb on that. That would be really cool. So let's do, yeah, I think we'll do mod circles. So that's one of my favorites. So nice little geometric pattern. Let's mess with another ink. The soft body acrylic. Now this one is not open either. And we'll see what the difference is between the flow on this one versus that gouache. Now we're back to a full acrylic, which means that it's going to dry with a satiny to glossy shine. I can't get this open. There we go. You know how like you try to open something and you don't want it to go bloop? Yeah. Okay. Or spill all over the place. That would be bad. All right, so soft body acrylic. Okay, and that came out at about the same liquidness, viscosity, if you will, as the acrylic gouache. All right, so it's a nice, you see how that's nice and soft, super easy. So this one should be like a no-brainer, right? This is just stenciling. Super easy. Nothing to it. So cool, right? Super simple. All right, so let's get this layer dry. And then I do want to add a little grunge to it. I don't want it to be so perfect. But I do want to show you that using the acrylics means that it's going to be waterproof. It's not going to move around. All right, so see this is dry. Thank you, fan. All right, so I'm going to take the same paint line that up. I'm going to get a little bit of water on it, loosen it up a little bit. So now it's kind of more like that acrylic ink consistency. I'm going to let it ooze a little underneath. There, that's what I wanted. All right, but see, look, the paint that was already there didn't move. All right, it didn't blend out, it didn't fade or anything like that. So if I had done two different colors, that color would have stuck. So that's, look at how quick and simple that was, right? But look at how much interest it added to this panel. So it was kind of boring because this was just a brayer panel. Pop a little bit of white gouache or white paint, whatever, through a stencil. And now all of a sudden you have something really interesting, okay? I love this pattern too, Cece. This is one of my favorite stencils, the mod circles from scrapbook.com. Okay, let's do another one. See, look at how many of these you can make. So now, if you have all of these gel prints, right, now you can go back and have even more fun with them and pop some stencils on top. And let's do, here's a new one I got. This is from the Crafters Workshop. This is called Bouquet Bliss. I mean, like literally just opening it up for the first time here. All right, so really any paint will do, whether you use gouache or whether you take your acrylics, and if it's a thicker acrylic, water it down a little bit. For this application, that is fine. We're not talking about being concerned about losing opacity, right? Or the density of the paint. For this crafty project, very easy to just go ahead and water that down. Actually, I would say, hang on a minute here. Did you see that, guys? I just lost half a bottle. Let me go grab a paper towel. I guess we'll be using liquid white. So I was going to say that the acrylic ink seems like maybe not so much because you don't get as much control over it as you do with, say, the soft body acrylic or a more dense acrylic paint. But since I have it all, you know, out here on my desktop, I may as well use it. Let's see if I'm happy with that. Because see, look, you get a lot of bleed through, right? So this ink is very, it's so loose that I don't think that it gives as good a result as you would get if you use a different acrylic. So I am actually going to clean this up. These things happen, right? Crafts-idents. Can we come up with a funky way to blend those words together? A craft accident. A crafts-ident. I don't know. That's what happens when I work a little too fast. So let's dry this one. This is on deli paper, so it's not going to take as much water as a piece of the resume paper. So yes, exactly, a crafts-ident. That's what I needed. I needed the T, a crafts-ident. Thanks, Sue. Wah, wah, wah. That'll be one for the highlight reel. Check out Nicole's crafts-ident. Maybe Liquitex will send me a new bottle. All right, so I have that dried up a little bit. Let's try that again. This one. Oh, there we go. I don't have this going the right way. There we go. Had to find the right flowers. Okay. Acrylic ink, get out of my way. Yeah, Lisa, that's why we love lives, right? Because you never know what's gonna happen. Never, ever, ever. So these stencils from the Crafters Workshop And what's fun about these is that they don't have the square edges, right? So you can go right off the side. You're not going to get that. All right. So there, now I can see a little bit more. I like that better. This one, do I have a piece of it? Okay. I like the stencil. Let me put it down real quick because it's got paint on the back side. Oh yeah, let's do it. Okay. So here's a funky piece. I used a piece of pattern paper, so just a wood grain, and then it's got all like those little extra leftover crunchy bits. Let's put this same stencil back on here and give it a nice clean do up with just the soft body acrylic. Nancy, you missed my craftcident. Rewind. See what happened right there. No. Yeah. So much better. Interest. We're looking for visual interest. All right. Done with that one. Let's see. We need to start actually making cards. So let's do just one more. Here's another fun geometric one. And this is also from the Crafters Workshop. It is called Cosmic Music. And so I had this piece. I know it's got like the really cool sunflower on it already. Let's just do some random. So that's really cool because you see the sunflower behind it, and then you see like this other pattern on top of it. That gave it even more interest. All right, so we've got a couple of these need to dry. Let me clean up my work area here. I'm just going to, I had this little bucket over on the side where I was putting all of my stencils in. So let's just put the water in there, and that will help keep those soaking. The sponge, okay, so acrylic is water based, so you can just throw the sponge in there and that will all clean up. So you'll be able to use a sponge again. The brushes, just make sure you've got those nice and cleaned up. I think we're good. So we'll move this out of the way so that I can soak. Make sure that all my paint is closed. Closed. That was about half a bottle. Oh, well. But the acrylic, as long as it's still slightly damp, it cleans up with just a towel on a glass surface. And there you go. All right. Phase 1 complete. Yes, so Lisa, different brushes for different media. Are a couple reasons why. So with watercolor, I prefer a brush that is a synthetic blend. So it has both real animal hair and synthetic fibers in it because it holds a lot of water. But with acrylics, all synthetic brushes tend to work better. So that's one reason. The second reason is because you don't really ever want to have like your acrylic get into your watercolor and vice versa, like cross-contamination, kind of, sort of. I think it would be worse to try to paint watercolor with the brush you'd used acrylic on, because a lot of times that kind of sticks to your brush. And unless your brush is super squeaky clean all the way down to the ferrule, you may get little bits of acrylic in your project and not be happy with that, right? All right, check these out. So cool. All right, so now we need to crop these down to sizes that will fit on our cards. Whether we want to have a border or not is up to us, right? So let me go do some chomping here and talk amongst yourself. Let's see, I feel like I should give you a topic. Is it time for a scrap buster at your house? Tell me how you're going to maybe use this technique or another technique to use up some of the gel press prints that you've done this month. All right, I'll be right back. Oh boy, you guys were really talking. Let's see. So can you gel press over a heavy pattern paper? Yeah, absolutely. So I did, like this one is done over wood grain paper. It just kind of depends on how much paint you have. You might cover up the pattern completely, but yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Sue's going to get out her cloud stencil to use on her gel prints. Yes. Ms. Tamp says she's going to do this because she's got lots of darker backgrounds. Yeah, so this will help lighten those guys up, right? Like this one here, all of a sudden you've got this nice white pattern on here, nice contrast, right? Pattern paper that she hates. Lisa Taylor is going to kill some pattern paper. Go for it. That's a really great way to use up all your pattern paper, isn't it? Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to assemble these. Super, super simple, right? So you just have to decide which way you want that to go, right? So, you know, maybe it's going to be a top fold, or maybe it's going to be just a side fold, however you decide you want that to be. And we're just going to pop it right on to our card bases. So you can spend most of your time actually doing these little, you know, sprucing up your prints, right? And then the next day come back and get your sentiments all over them. All right, so here, look, already a gorgeous card. I mean, it doesn't even really need to have a sentiment on it, but maybe it does. It needs a little trim on the bottom because that piece extended too far. There we go. Hate it when that happens. Okay, so I think I'm going to actually do this top fold because this white bit across the bottom really is giving that a nice ground, right? So you kind of have to look at, how does this look? It kind of looks like it's unfinished on this side, but if I flip it this way, that whole white space really looks intentional. So then you go through your sentiments, and maybe you already have sentiments made up. Maybe the hugs looks really good on there. We actually use that. Was that last week we used that? That would look really great on there actually. And I wasn't going to use it, but boy, does that look fabulous. Let's just pop it on, right? And because look, then the white, it brings that white up into it, right? That was just totally serendipity, guys. I did not do that on purpose. I just pulled it out. I said, oh, I bet that would look nice. It did. So yeah, any kind of sentiment you might have, pop it on, right? And yeah, and perfect. Why mess with success, right? Like it was speaking to me. It wanted to be on this card. I do not need to put any kind of gems or anything on here, though I could if I really wanted to. I mean, I might. Maybe some enamel dots would look really great on here, but just by itself, that looks fabulous, right? I mean, like you might have thrown that gel press print away. Don't do it. Put some stencil on there. I mean, it doesn't matter that it's all goopy or whatever. I mean, it's just gorgeous, right? Okay, so hey, let's move on to the clouds because Penny really likes this one. Penny Peck, this is for you. Okay, so Penny, I'm going to pop this on here. All right. And okay. So this one I cut 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Ooh, so now it's kind of like we're looking out a window. Don't you love that with the little, you can see the wood. So this again was done on a piece of wood grain pattern paper. So you can see that through. And then like there's this little space up here that the cloud made. I mean, it just looks like you're looking out a little window or something, doesn't it? Like maybe you're up in an airplane and it's a really swanky airplane, right? And maybe it's got like some wood grain around the windows. Okay, Penny, this is for you. So what kind of greeting do you want? Do you want like a thank you or just a hello? What else do I have? My best wishes. Thinking of you. Penny, what do you want? Let me know. I'm going to put another one together while I'm waiting to hear from you. You like the hello. Okay. All right. And then let's see. Let's see what color we think is best. Kind of like, I think I like the black, to be honest with you. Or the blue. Black or blue? We could also do greetings. I mean, if you want to be really formal. Greetings. Oh, sending my love. See, I kind of like the scripty ones on this. I like the sending my love. You let me know what you think on that, Penny. Let's do this. So either the hello and tell me which color, or sending my love or greetings. Sue says, please do the other cloud background. All right, Sue, this one's for you. What kind of greeting do you want? All right, Penny, I've got you nailed down. Sending my love. Let me get this one ready for Sue. You like this? Oh yeah, I think I really like that, Sue. That's a good one. Okay, so for Penny, okay, I'm gonna take some thread. Do I want to do gold? Yeah. All right. Well, Sue, watch your mailbox for something too, because I am making this card for you. Penny, same thing. Penny, send me your mailing address and I will pop this card in the mail for you. I won't sign it so that way you can use it, because I don't think I'm necessarily sending my love. I mean, I'm sending my crafty love, but be a great card for you to use for someone. All right, so I'm just going to put some foam dots on here. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. We're going to add a little bit of bling to this so that the sentiment will stand out. I mean, the sentiment's already blingy, right? Because this one is foiled. But what I did is I took the thread from Altenew and I just kind of rolled it in my hand so that way I could get a single ply. Right? I really like these threads as a single ply because they're just so delicate, except that this one got stuck on the sentiment. So see how that just makes like a beautiful little loop. So I just loop it up like so. It starts to go a little crazy, but that's okay. I'm going to stick it right on those dots. And then we just pop it on. Right? And then it doesn't have to be neat once it's on and in place. It just is. And see, look how gorgeous that is. Again, this doesn't need anything else. You can add, you know, maybe a few little rhinestones would go well on this one. But there you go. I mean, look at that. It's just gorgeous. So Penny, you know my email address. Send me your mailing address. I'll send this to you. All right, same thing for you, Sue. So we'll do the same thing. See how I'm just pulling that apart? It gets all like balled up on the end there. And then you just pull it and then all of a sudden they separate. All right, so on this one, I guess that means I have my Send It Sundays already done because these are going out to some lovely ladies. So this one I have a little more room to put more adhesive dots, foam squares, whatever you want to call them. We call them lots of different things, don't we? All right. And then again, I'm just going to take my little thread and wrap it up. And it's going to stick to my sentiment because I had it in the wrong place. And I end up with a nice little circle of thread. Goes right on there. Bam. Easy. Super, super simple, right? So if I wasn't chatting, if I wasn't taking requests, we would have gotten through the rest of these. But look at how easy that is. All right. Oh my gosh, guys. So now you've got all sorts of great ideas for scrap busting. You can scrap bust this with your gel press prints. As Ms. Tamp said, you can use white on your dark color prints, really help lighten them up. All that great thing, all those great things. You can, I mean, it's going to add a little bit more interest to something that maybe wasn't so interesting before. It adds more interest to something that was already mildly interesting, right? But especially all of those prints that you end up with because you're rolling off your brayer and you don't know what to do with them. Lots of really great ideas. And of course, you get to use your stencils. Another great way to use your acrylic paints. Just use those with a little makeup sponge and sponge through your stencils. Water them down a little bit to get a little bit of distress. And you'll have some absolutely gorgeous prints in no time. So guys, I hope you enjoyed yourself today. Sounds like you had a really exciting time watching and you've got all sorts of ideas. I'd love to see them. Don't forget to tag me at Nicole Creates over on Instagram so I can check those out. On your way out today, do give today's video a thumbs up and don't forget to share my channel with all of your friends so that way we can all be crafty together every week, running with scissors. Oh, I almost forgot, I will not be here next week. It is a 5th Thursday. That means that I'm taking the week off. So I will see you right here July 7th for our next episode. And we're going to be working with waxes next month. And I know you are just going to love the projects. So thank you guys. And I will see you all soon. Until next time, happy crafting. Thank you.